G'day everyone and welcome to this week's Video Confidence Connect. Let me fix you up a little bit there. Here we go. And let me position you correctly. Welcome everyone to this week's Video Confidence Connect with your host Zoe Wood, the Video Confidence Coach, smashing your marketing mayhem with killer video strategies. And here is my weekly Video Confidence Connect, where I have a chance to chat with you about whatever is going on with you regarding personal branding or video marketing or marketing in general. I thank you everyone who has reached out to me over the past couple of weeks. I have been very, very sick, and in turn, a lot of things have gone by the wayside, so I needed to put those over priorities as I recovered. But in the meantime, what I have done is we are now live on YouTube, I was about to say Instagram. We're on live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook at the same time. And I'm looking to get Facebook and others in the future because I have learnt to do it, and therefore I have learnt. Well, I know how to do it for other people, but now I've been able to input it into my own systems here. So thank you all and everyone for your patience over that time. Make sure that you watch the live stream here, or you can make sure that you comment any of your questions, thoughts, ideas, or even podcast topics throughout today's live stream, and I'll make sure I get to them either during the live stream or in the hashtag replay squad for any of those of you who are following up after our live stream today. You can find more information about our live stream, our podcasts, or other events at vcc.training or in the show notes in the description of wherever you found this live stream today. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I conduct my business today. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people continue to face discrimination and disadvantage due to our country's colonial past. I stand with them in their fight against injustice. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And as we move on to today's live stream, today we are going to be touching on 2 podcast episodes that we are going to be recording. So I usually take this live stream opportunity once a week to be able to answer any public questions or any even private questions that I've had regarding personal branding, video marketing, or marketing in general. And I help people by answering these questions in a public forum so that we can all be educated. And that gives me a chance to make sure that I don't miss anyone, and also take this opportunity to clip this live stream and send it to them as a way of answering their questions. So, but as you can imagine, over these past couple of weeks, I've been a bit sick, so I haven't done as rigorous as I usually do. So my apologies, I'm going to need to take a little bit of a break on that one. But as we get to it, today we're going to be recording 2 podcast episodes, specifically episode 69, funny number, being childish in your marketing. That's what the episode's called. So episode 69 of the podcast, the Unboring Your Brand podcast, as you can probably imagine. I'm very proud of reaching that number. Honestly, that's one of the numbers that I strive to reach when it comes to my podcasts. If I get to episode 69, I know I'm already in cruising mode. And my other podcast episode that we're going to record today is Yes-anding in Business, the secret sauce to better ideas and less drama, using a drama technique. For any of you who have dealt with improv in any way, you'll be very familiar with yes-anding. So I like to move that over to business. So again, thank you everyone who is joining us here on the live stream today. I'd like to thank when it comes to networking in person or when you're networking in a small town, it's very helpful to have business cards. And to be honest, I kept putting it off, mainly because it felt like I was going to waste them, that I wasn't going to use them. And it very much felt like, I'm going to have to fix these as I go. Very much felt like a waste. But I was convinced by a fair few people to get business cards. So, okay, I think you're firmly on my head now. So I'd like to thank everyone who convinced me to get business cards. They look very pretty. They've got rounded corners and they've got a nice QR code on the back, so I can then send that to people and send them to a digital thing, which I was going to do anyway. Here is a little bit interesting at the moment, but that is all right. We can just get the many clips I have in my hair and we'll pin that out of the way. So thank you everyone who is joining us. Yeah, there we go. There we go. You're there, I guess. Why are you stick? Oh, there's the mic there. So, getting on to what we've accomplished this past week. So as you can imagine, it's been a couple of weeks since we did the live stream. So we've moved into quarter 2 officially. So we're on the second week of Q2. So it's the 11th of April as we record this live. And I've moved on from promoting my Glow and Grow session, which is our start of the year product, which helps people strategically plan their video marketing strategies. And we're moving to a bit more of an open option. My main goal for this quarter is to secure 6 new long-term clients, but of course that doesn't really impact you or help you in any way. So I might need to spend a little bit of time refocusing myself on what I can do to best serve you and best help you over this period of time. But you're going to need to give me a little bit of time to do that in, surprisingly. Over this past couple of weeks, between hospital visits and such, you probably would have met me in person at the Geelong Coffee meetup for the One Roof group. So if you are part of One Roof, which is a Australian women's business networking group, which is both online and in person, feel free to hit me up. I'm on there and you'll definitely see me around answering questions and running about causing mayhem. So that was a couple of weeks ago. And as we come up over this next week, we have both the April 2025 Connect for the Geelong Chamber, which will be hosted by Watherong. So the Watherong Co-op is a community that is a co-op that I have been volunteering on and off for the past 15 years. And I look forward to working with them again soon enough on some podcasting stuff. You didn't hear that from me. But they are thriving in multiple locations throughout the Geelong and Watherong area. So make sure that you keep posted as I give you more information, those on my socials and my email newsletter. Honestly, email newsletter is probably the best, but we'll work with where you are. And we'll also be having another One Roof Women's Network catch up, both online and in person over the next couple of weeks. So again, if you see me there, I will definitely see you out there. I'm even looking to attend a couple of Melbourne ones. So if you attend any of the Melbourne ones events, please comment and let me know, because I would love to hear how those events go. Upcoming on the Unboring Your Brand podcast, last week we had pick one platform to rule them all. And as we go this week, we have a wall of hate comments at 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And that is an interesting story of something that I dealt with last year regarding a whole bunch of people not quite getting the message and in turn being very hateful and spiteful on the internet. Shock, horror, I didn't even know that was possible. So you'll be interested to hear of how I dealt with that and how I best did that, how I best changed it for my community for the better. So if you have any questions regarding personal branding or video marketing, please let them know below and I'll make sure to add them in my roster for podcast episodes to come up. And with Vic Podcasters, which is the program that I run for Victorian podcasters, we have our email list, Facebook and LinkedIn groups, which are slowly growing. So I thank everyone who has been joining us over the past couple of weeks. On the podcast side of things, which is a 5-minute weekly podcast to help you get good at podcasting, we are currently running a series on common podcasting mistakes. So last week was oops, podcasting mistakes you're probably making. And this week is more podcasting blunders that you don't need to make. So as you can imagine, that series has been quite popular and gotten a whole bunch of people talking within those groups. So again, if you are interested, make sure to check out the description below where you can find the details to jump onto that, or you can just check it out at vcc.training/vic-podcasters to find all the links and information there. So as we get started with today's podcast, everything seems to be working. Nothing seems to be blowing up in my face just yet. We are trialing out this new product, so don't panic. We're still figuring things out. I will definitely take this opportunity to rest and maybe breathe and not cough at you for a moment. So I'm going to turn on the air conditioning, cool down a bit, and we'll get started with the Funny Haha podcast. Lisa asked the question, one thing I struggle with is keeping my emotions in check on video. I work in animal welfare and often end up crying. Any tips for controlling the rush of emotion when I speak about what I do and why I do it? Stepping out of the shot and focusing on filming the cat sounds like one way. And that is definitely true, Lisa. Being able to just, as I mentioned before about filming when you have the highest energy in the day, that's always a good chance to be able to keep your emotions in check. You'll have more energy. Say, for example,
that is more comfortable to you. So be it at home in, say, a home office or a lounge room or somewhere where there's nice soft furnishings that you can sit down and you can be comfortable in, because there's less chance of your, and again, I hate to use the term negative emotions, because there's no such thing as negative emotions, but to be able to feel comfortable in yourself enough that you're able to get the message through and get the message clear enough without the need to, say, cry. Because again, the work that you do is definitely needed, and that we are so lucky to have people in the world like you who do the work that you do. But if you need to take a break, that's fine. Take a break, have a little cry. So take some time, breathe, and then if you need to, get back to filming. And as Cherry mentioned, she always does voiceovers. If voiceovers are easier for you to be able to have a script in front of you and read off that, or maybe even have dot points in front of you to read off that a little bit more naturally without having to worry about focusing on a camera lens and worrying about crying. Because of course we might be able to hear that you're crying in the voice, but necessarily that's not always going to be the case. So again, is it fit for purpose? Is it going to work with what you need to? And is it going to ultimately help the people and help the cats that you're working with at the end of the day? Because it's okay if that's not the case. You don't need to get in front of the camera if that's the case. But if people are going to be interacting with you and they're going to be putting their trust in you and the work that you do, if you can get yourself on camera at least once, then that's chef's kiss. And if that's not the case, then stand back and focus on the cats.
Thank you everyone for your patience. Focus, thank you. Apologies for the delay and having you sit on that ad screen for a bit too long. We're just dealing with a couple of issues of internet because of course we live in Australia and we can't have proper internet. So we've got a little bit of going up and down. So I'll be right back with our podcast today. When I work with clients, my goal is to get them to their desired outcome. Yes, if I need to be a little bit harsh and a little bit mean, which is probably me just messaging them and just being like, hi, you said we were going to do this. Let's do this. Like, that's my mean face. But when it comes to helping people achieve what they need to achieve, that's what I'm here for. That's what you've hired me for, to get to where you need to go, to use the expertise, and hopefully to use the knowledge that you have as an expert in your field. Because ultimately, if you are running a small business, if you are working... Haha, 69, funny number, haha. I'm an adult, I promise. Welcome to the Unboring Your Brand podcast, where today we're going to be a little bit childish. Yes, let's address the elephant in the room. Well, it's not exactly an elephant, it's more of a pink elephant. Yes, this is episode 69 of the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Yes, 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 congratulations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I bow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, hold your applause, hold your applause. Oh, roses, oh, thank you. Oh. Yes. So thank you everyone for sticking this long with us during the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Thank you for all your comments and your love. And this is a big milestone for me. Yes, other than it being a funny number, I myself am a funny, non-serious person. I like to think that we're all grown-ups here because most of the people that I work with, other than my mentees, are all grown-ups. And no, I myself will not grow up. In this episode, we're going to get a little childish on purpose, for the purpose of your personal brand. Who would have thought? Me talking about personal branding? Never. And now it's no excuse to say nice on a podcast, although 69, nice. So as you can imagine, we are talking about being childish in your branding and in your marketing on purpose. So let's get started into today's meaty subject. Feel free to take the pun out of that one. Why being childish can actually work for your marketing. Most people, when they come across your brand or engage with any social media, any online websites, branding searches, however they interact both online and in the real world, be it billboards, posters, flyers, or even a salesperson, I'm going to tell you now, people in day-to-day life, especially your customers, no matter who they are, I'm going to say this now, are bored. People are bored. They are seriously bored. And if you give them something fun to look at, if you give them something to give them a little bit of a chuckle, maybe even a from the nostril, they're really going to be engaged. They're going to honestly remember you. And that silliness is going to travel throughout their reminding of your brand. Now, yes, I understand that a lot of people who are watching or listening to this may be screaming, Zoe, I'm a serious business person. I can't be silly. I'm not going to be taken seriously in hoity-toity, wherever the hell, or my industry is not going to take me seriously. I'm going to tell you now that your personal brand is not meant for you or your industry. It is for your clients. And being playful equals personality. Personality equals connection. And connection is, oh, look at that. It's your next client paying attention to you and eventually giving you money. Because that is what it is about when it comes to advertising and marketing yourself or marketing your brand. It is about attracting attention. And there is a reason why April Fool's jokes, they're a little bit passé now, but they definitely swing back and forth when it comes to relevance and interest. And when it comes to people being engaged with your brand, if there's a little bit of silliness, a little bit of quirkiness, a little bit of uniqueness, dare I say, people then pay attention to you. So one thing I want to address before we move on to the rest of the podcast today is that there is a difference between childish and unprofessional. Now, when you're pitching to a client, you're not exactly cracking poo jokes, unless, of course, they started it. Or you're not going to be putting a whoopee cushion under their chair when they first sit in. Unless that, again, is your, you sell whoopee cushions or like you run a practical joke store. Maybe, who knows? I don't know if that still works in today's day and age, but if it does, wholehearted to you, it's definitely in your brand. But you are allowed to be lighthearted. You are still allowed to chuckle and make a joke and still know your stuff. You're allowed to read the room without turning into a clown. And I know for the sake of my brand and my personal brand, I like to use colors. I like to use exaggerated facial expressions because I enjoy that part of my personality. I have been a little drama baby since I was born, and I enjoy making people smile and laugh. Yes, I've had multiple clients say, you should be a comedian, you should be a clown, you should do all these things. And I have looked into it as a career and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with serving people and helping people. Yes, I can make them laugh, but I much better and much more enjoy the smile on their faces when they're able to see this behemoth, this tangled web of things called marketing for their brand, and they're able to see that just wash away and a smile appears on their face. It's a nice thing that I enjoy doing. And yes, making them laugh too is a nice thing. When it comes to your personal brand and where you can be playful, it is very much depending on your observations, because again, this personal brand is usually a reflection of you and who you are, and you are allowed to put funny comments or jokes in things that not necessarily don't matter, but say for example, if you're proposing something, like with an actual proposal to a big company, maybe not leading with a joke is probably the best thing, but say for example, maybe having a joke at the end, or mention that, you can have a bit of fun with whoever you're talking to, whoever you're pitching to lighten up the mood, especially, and I've worked with a couple of people where the work that they do or the message that they tout is incredibly serious. And the best way to break that serious tension is to have an even lighthearted joke. Now, of course, you're not diminishing, I want to stress, you are not diminishing the work that you are doing or who you are doing the work for. But during times of sorrow, having any sort of levity is palpable, I'm going to tell you now. And it is something that definitely changes people's perspective on the work that you do. Some other examples that are slightly more lighthearted are, say, Instagram captions. You can have prime real estate of having a little bit of chaos and a little bit of quirkiness. You can, say, for example, run regular posts, maybe once a week or once a fortnight. That is not necessarily very serious. It's not salesy. It's not something that is pushing your brand or your message, very much like other posts that are reminding people of you exist. Or maybe just sharing a meme. Yes, it is low effort, but it is also levity in regards to everything else that you're doing with your brand. You can also put some jokes or some lightheartedness in email subject lines. Now, this doesn't have to be your email list or just your email list that, for example, you send out weekly or fortnightly or even monthly. You can also do this in the emails that you send to your clients. Personally, I do this a lot with clients that I'm very familiar with, so I understand a lot more of their jokes and what they find funny. Not exactly with new clients who have only just gotten to know. But especially when it comes to things like, for example, they would have mentioned maybe that their birthday was soon, or something along the lines of something was happening in their life that was a momentous occasion. So then I would send them an email, just a nice lighthearted email with some funny things in the subject line, and give them a little bit of a smile or a chuckle. Because of course, yes, we work, and for example, mine is about boosting your personal brand and making marketing easier for yourself. But I'm also there to help you as a small business. So if that helps you small business. Yay! And at the where you can also inject some levity is also in your about page. You can also make it sound like an actual human wrote it to begin with. That doesn't even have to do anything about being playful or childish. That's just about being right. So you can make your about page sound like a human wrote it, but then you can also put in some jokes. You can put in some levity. You can make that, revolutionary, because your about page, yes, reflects you and your personal brand, but it also allows you to make people realize that it's you at the end of the day. Because yes, you are there to serve your customer, but you're also there to give them hope that you are able to fix their problem. And most of the time, especially when we are working with AI copy just being shoved down our throats, we need to be able to showcase our humanity. And that usually is by having a laugh, by making light of something. Now, of course, I want to stress that yes, you could definitely make some laughs or make some jokes that maybe, for example, may not age well in a couple of years. That may just be the flavor of how you like to joke. My recommendation would be to stay a little bit away from that, mainly just because, of course, whatever you put out on the internet is going to stay out on the internet, but you're allowed to make some jokes. It's okay. And if you are a very serious brand and you start making jokes all of a sudden, people might get a bit weirded out. So maybe start small and move into more ways of levitating, bringing more levity into your business. Because again, your brand is a reflection of you. And if you are serious all the time, you might be a bit boring. I didn't say that. Who said that? Go away. Who said that? So I'm going to tell you now, for probably when you're listening or watching the podcast, thank you if you do. For most people who I work with, no matter how serious they are, there is still some humanity and then some levity to them. So why most people don't do this, why most people are not childish or even attempt to make a funny haha joke. And I'll tell you why. It's because they're scared of looking unprofessional. But they want to play it safe, which usually means wrapping themselves in a big, thick doona of comfortability, of a professionalism. But it's also what makes them invisible. And when you are growing a brand, now this can be a personal brand, as in you as a person, or it can be something that, am I running? Ooh, my watch is telling me I'm running. Or you are someone who is actively building a brand with, say, a group or a team of people. Being scared to look unprofessional is what is going to cloud your judgment and is going to stay in your mind a lot longer. And there's going to be so many what ifs in the future. A lot of, say, my generation and the subsequent generations, so Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are going to be blending that unprofessionalism from the past with the quirkiness of the future to get people's attention and hold people's attention, especially people who have money. So if your audience actually laughs, and even if they don't laugh, they just smile a little bit through their phones, or when you meet them in person, they are more likely to trust you and buy from you. But it's not even just about being liked enough to be trusted. It's about being seen as a human being, because as we move into this AI age, again, we'll only be able to look back and actually see if this is the case, there is going to be more unauthenticity. I think that's the right word. Unauthenticity. There's going to be cropping up all over the world and is going to be consistently being pushed down our throats. So if anything is authentic, is going to stand out. And that usually involves some human aspect to it, like cracking a joke, like being haha, like being smile. And even if you aren't that type of person, or you're scared to, again, the unprofessionalism is rearing its ugly head, you can always walk it back. You can always make a joke and then completely walk it back. You're allowed to have fun making content. I know that's a shocker, but you're allowed to enjoy marketing yourself and your business. It doesn't have to be a chore. It doesn't have to be scary if you do not want it to be. Now, of course, trying anything new can be scary for the first time. But even just thinking, hey, I'm just going to do a funny skit. 30 seconds, it's going to be about whatever you like to focus your brand on. And then have it be a funny joke at the end. It doesn't even have to be a laugh out loud, funny haha. But you're allowed to play with your brand a little bit, because it's not a thing that's set in stone. It's not a gold obelisk at the top of a pyramid that you have to steal from and run from Boulder. You are allowed to have fun with your brand. And that may not be, for example, cracking a joke, because you're worried about how it may make you look unprofessional. But you're allowed to take the time to maybe post a meme once a month on your social media. Maybe at the end of your email newsletter, maybe have a little GIF or a meme, something funny relating to what you do. Having some levity in the reports that you provide, or what are the articles that you write, any way that you are promoting yourself out into the world. You have a little funny, or even just a little treasure hunt, for example. I've been noticing a couple of my clients who are in various serious lines of work, but they have a little mascot that they put at the bottom of their email newsletters and some of their reports that say, hey, you found, I don't exactly know his name, I think Chibi, or I think I've forgotten what they've actually called the little guy, but they say, congratulations, you've gotten all the way to the end of this report. You have found such and such. Give yourself a thumbs up. Again, it's nothing small. It's nothing that makes them look unprofessional. It's just something light to bring to the work that you're doing. And again, I'm not saying that just because everything's serious. You're allowed to have fun. You're allowed to do fun things, and you're allowed to try things out. And if they don't work, you're allowed to pull them back. And if they do work, you can build upon it. Ta-da! Building a brand. Wow! I want to give you a permission slip. So go down in the description, you'll find a link, and you'll see a nice big permission slip that I would like to give you. So you take that. Yep. You're allowed to be a little bit of a dork. You don't have to be a meme machine, like a lot of channels that grow rapidly are mainly just reposting memes or funny jokes from other channels or stripped from other properties. You don't have to do that. But you are allowed to be a little bit of a weirdo, like the rest of us, I must say. you're allowed to let it show. And even if you feel like that might be a bit too silly, it might be the exact thing your audience loves. And in turn will remember you, remind them that you exist, and of course, buy from you. Now, of course, I've been talking very theoretical, which happens a lot when it comes to marketing and in personal branding from my experience. But I want to take this opportunity to just give you that momentum, that push, that you're allowed to, send a Slack message to your fellow staff at the end of a Friday saying, thanks for a good week of work, guys, with a funny GIF. You're allowed to have fun with yourself and your brand. Not just in the way that you market, but in the way that you communicate in general. So if you've been waiting for a sign to loosen up a little bit, because we're all going to die someday, take this episode, 69 baby, nice, as that opportunity to, why not, try it. Thank you everyone for joining us for 69 episodes so far of the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Let's stop acting like the internet was a never-ending job interview. You do not need to be serious and hold that asshole tight for the rest of your life, especially when you're promoting a brand. Add a pun, add a blooper, wear a funny hat in some of your reels, videos, GIFs, however you like to express yourself. Even in some of your articles, you're allowed to have a little joke in there or two. Maybe put it in italics so then people can tell it's a joke. You're allowed to be smart and silly, professional and playful. Arguably, I'd say you look smarter by being able to tell a joke and consistently tell a joke about your area of expertise. Even if I don't get it, I'm going to be impressed because you made a funny haha and I didn't get it, so I'm going to laugh because you are definitely smart. All I ask is that you just don't be boring, because that's the real crime. Why be building a personal brand? Especially for a lot of the people that I work with, it's going to be a long life, a long-term personal brand. So if it's going to be something that's going to be with you for life, it needs to be a little bit looser than just the rigid confines of what you decided 5 years ago. So take that opportunity to let loose, baby! 69, nice! Not everything is going to be perfect out the gate. When you first started your business, were you crack hot straight away? Did you not make mistakes? Did the first thing that you ever created, that you ever serviced, that you ever did for your business, was it absolutely perfect? No. Can anyone argue that what you do now is perfect? No. The reason I ask that is because when it comes to marketing your business in general, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to make pitfalls. But hopefully the work that and the message that I put out there is that if you're willing to make mistakes that ultimately in the end of the day don't harm yourself and do not harm anyone else, then it's okay to make mistakes. How improv rules can stop you from being a jerk at work. Welcome to the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Too many business conversations go straight to the no, but, or yeah, nah, or the Australian, yeah, nah. Now, is that a yes or a no? There is a quiz below. Make sure you check that out. The best way to put it is, especially with business conversations, there's a lot of stop fast, full stops to any sort of ideas or thoughts, just quicker than a, knockoff on Friday. But if you want to build a small business or build a brand that thrives, creates cool stuff, and doesn't make people hate meetings or being pitched by you, it's time to get friendly with yes and. I know. So, drum roll please. So for those who may not have the pleasure of being in any sort of improv situation, I tip my hat off for you. Congratulations on avoiding this, but I'm going to bring you in now. So I'm going to tell you what yes and is. So just yes and in italics. So what improv is theatre exercises where you improvisationalize a scene, a conversation, usually with another person or another couple of other people. And the one rule when it comes to classic improv is you accept what is offered and then add to it. You don't dismiss what is the scenario that is happening in front of you or what you are walking into. You don't dismiss it outright. You say yes and. You add on top of it. Now, what does improv in the theatre world have to do with business? We are all faking this. We are all just holding on by the seat of our pants because none of us have lived 1,000 lives as being a business owner to be able to know exactly what to do at every single moment. Yes, some of my older clients may have a lot of experience in their particular industry and niche, but things are constantly changing and constantly evolving. There's things that worked in the past that are definitely not going to work now. I love you and I thank you, but cold calling is not my thing. Hi. But in business, it means that building ideas need to be fostered and grown upon and not just stomped out at the first opportunity. This helps conversations, not just with your clients, not just with potential clients, but also with staff and with any contractors or anyone that you're bringing into your team to help you out. It keeps conversations open, playful, and productive. Even the ones that are a bit weird and may not seem like, the exact solution to the situation that you're having or the problem that you're experiencing within your business. You're allowed to use the yes and approach just to see where the situation goes. And if you're given enough time and you think, it's not getting to where I want, you can yes and it and loop it back around so you can get back to the goal at hand. So why is yes anding a game changer in a business? Now, of course, I'm talking to my personal brand builders. At the end of the day, you are a business owner because you are giving your experience, your knowledge, or your work, or your time, or your hours for money. You are a business owner. And you may be a contractor, but you're also a business owner at the end of the day. So, welcome on board. Thank you. Make sure you have your ABN registered. Yes anding stops idea killing in its tracks. It encourages collaboration with whoever you're talking with, even if you're just doing it with yourself, you're having a conversation with yourself about some sort of marketing query or problem, or even just an area in your business. If you're feeling stuck, using the yes and principle allows you to expand your thoughts. And even if it's not fully baked, give you an idea, or an MVP, as I like to call it, a minimum viable product, which is something that is cheap, easy, and quick for you to make that you can start running with at a moment's notice to help you generate money or generate leads, which will then lead into money or other things that have to do with business terms. So when it comes to yes anding, this builds confidence in yourself and your team, if you have one, or even in just the people around you, gives them the confidence to keep showing up creatively. And if you work with clients quite heavily, especially in creative fields, being able to use this yes anding, especially for people who are very quick to shut off ideas immediately, I highly recommend. So say, for example, I was working with a woman a couple of years ago now. Yes, we were a couple of years ago now. And she, we'd talked maybe once or twice for, say, 10 to 15 minutes previous to this, and we were having a sit-down meeting. Now, this was before I did my discovery forms, and these were before I did my 15-minute conversations, where I got a better idea of who I was talking with before we agreed to, say, have a sit-down meeting. I traveled all the way there, all that good stuff. And I had done a lot of research onto her industry and target market. And essentially what we were doing is we were brainstorming and pitching ideas. She knew that she wanted to work with me. Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. But she also knew that she had a very distinct idea in her head. And I later found out that she was more testing me to see if I could vocalize that thought and idea in her head. And I'm not a genie. I am not a magician. I'm not one of those mesmerists. I am not here to make your thoughts come to reality just because you've had them in your head. Yes, I am a professional in the marketing space and I am a personal branding and video marketing coach. But you can't expect someone, especially someone who you've just met, to magically turn things around for you. And especially when I am bringing her research, I'm bringing her, these are what your, industry fellows are doing. Here is what you need to do differently to stand out from them. Here are the people that you're targeting. I did a very in-depth research into her customer target market to get a really clear idea of what they want and what they expect, but also, more importantly, what they don't expect, to then be able to stand out in front of them and their market, and what they ultimately showcase the solution to their problem. And she just kept shooting them down. Every single idea I had, she kept shooting it down. To the point where I was getting to my last couple of ideas and I'm like, okay, I need to stop this. So I stopped the conversation and I said, okay, it's very clear that something's going on. None of the ideas so far, none of them are getting past like my first 2 dot points. So you're clearly not interested in how this works. What is your idea? What have you seen? What do you want to replicate? And then from there, we were able to talk, get a bit more of a foundation, and then I was able to yes and from that situation or the idea that she had laid out, to the point where I could start incorporating the ideas that she had already poo-pooed, but transform them in a different way by using yes and to be able to get my point across. And then in the end of the day, we ended up working together and it was all fine. And when it comes to, now of course, that example that I just showed you may not happen every single day. But what you can do and what you can use yes anding for in every day are things like brainstorming sessions where no one is scared to speak up. No one is scared to give their thoughts and ideas, even if it sounds crazy. The idea is that's the point of a brainstorming session. It's to brainstorm. You can also use yes anding in client calls where you explore ideas together, very much like the example that I had before, instead of defaulting to, I don't think that will work, or I don't think we can do that, immediately poo-pooing the ideas. Now, of course, when it comes to certain clients, and especially we'll give you a discretion here, there's a couple of times where some clients can feel very big for their budgets, is what I like to say. And sometimes you might need to rein them in a bit, but let them explore their thoughts and explore their ideas. And then once it gets to a reasonable level, as the expert and professional that you are, then you can start reining them in, being like, okay, we can have that, expensive idea, but we're going to bring it back to something that we can do within your budget. And another thing that you can do on the day-to-day is utilizing yes anding in social media content planning that doesn't feel like you're pulling teeth every single week, month, week, fortnight. Whenever you're doing social media, using that yes anding principle to be able to build upon especially concrete ideas and things that you've already had in the past regarding your brand, using the yes anding principle to explore the other options may be useful for you. And also stop your railroad thinking, especially when it comes to the way all the things that you talk about in your brand. So let's go through the big differences between yes anding and yes but. Yes, but. Now, as you can imagine, with yes, but, now I'm putting emphasis on that but there, mainly just because I want to say but. But with that, it very much sounds like a rejection in a polite outfit, like in a nice suit, just someone coming and slapping you across the face. There is a very clear, I agree with you. There is a very clear, I agree with you, up until a point, bam, no, thank you, ma'am. I'm going to leave. That is very much what it feels like when you are saying but. Now, of course, this comes in people's vocabulary. You say yes, 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 but, because you need to bring things back to the real world. Now, I ask you and I implore you to start recognizing that within the way that you speak or the way that you talk to clients. Now, say, for example, if you're in a very hard and fast industry, or, for example, you're in something where they're asking for the world, but they don't have the budget for it, you're allowed to say yes and invites the expansion, exploration, and more innovation, and then be able to lay out the facts, but not in a, there I did it again, not in a yes but way, but in a yes and here is what we can do, or out of what we've talked about, here is what we can achieve with your budget. Because yes, we are yes-anding to bring people on board, but also allow people to trust us more, because we're not automatically shooting their ideas down, especially in creative fields. When it comes to your personal life too, you can also use and but. Look at me, Zoe, being able to explore opportunities outside of just business. It's almost like I'm human too. So when it comes to yes-anding, and especially because it's all connected, as you can imagine, with both your personal and your professional life, this also helps with the relationships or with any dramas that you may be having with family, friends, flatmates, or when it even has come time to choosing dinner. You're an adult. You're allowed to make dinner, or you're allowed to choose 2 or 3 things together. You're allowed to explore what yes-anding can possibly do for you in your personal life. It makes you a better listener and a better communicator. Well, just full stop. Because you're trying to make sure that you're not just waiting for them to stop speaking so you can start speaking. I'm going to nod in my head and pretend like none of us have done that. Because when you are yes-anding, you're incorporating the stuff that they've already said and already brought to the table to make sure that you're able to build upon that foundation that they've already laid. So in that, you'll become a better communicator, and hopefully, maybe your partner or your loved one or family member will love you more. I don't know if that's possible, but you can understand where I'm coming from that, because moving away from the but factor to the and factor definitely changes that style for you. And of course, we aren't able to do this all of the time, but building that momentum in your regular speak, in your personal life, will stop killing those harsh vibes and also allow you to be a little bit more open to the possibilities that life and the universe can give you. So what are my go-to tips for saying yes-anding like a pro in both business and professional life? I'm using my hands a lot today, so if I hit the microphone, my sincere apologies. You can start by actually listening before responding. You are allowed to take a pause after someone has said something and then formulate a response and build upon, because you are yes-anding as opposed to yes, but. Yes, but. For those who aren't watching the podcast on YouTube, hi, I'm using my hand and just smacking you down. Yes, but. But yes, and allows you to open up the conversation and again, build upon, as I've just discussed. You can an even better idea that isn't perfect is still better than something that is completely dismissed. You can build upon something that is already pre-existing. You can't build on something that's not there. So, it is also especially useful for those of my clients and my potential clients who find themselves being crippled by self-doubt. Yes, I might be nervous, and I'm going to do it anyway. Yes, I'm worried about how this will turn out or what backlash I'm going to receive, and I'm going to do it anyway. And sometimes that's just what happens when it comes to putting yourself out there in your personal brand, in your business, however you intend to market yourself, because people need to hear your message. People need to understand and hear what you have to say. And to do that, you need to do it anyway. So you need to yes and. Yes, very good. If you didn't say anything there, just imagine you said something there. Yes-anding doesn't mean agreeing with everything. I want to stress that just because you're saying yes and, it's almost like saying yes but. You're acknowledging what they've said, or what the foundation that they've built upon. And just because you're building upon it doesn't necessarily mean that you agree, but you can also use that yes and to make sure that you cover those bases that maybe they did not consider or they didn't realize. But you're doing it in an additive way as opposed to a negative way. It means staying open, staying curious, and building with people, except... Let me do that one again, though. It means staying open, staying curious, and building with people instead of building against them. Because when you are working with your clients, when you're working with your family, when you're working with your friends, you are trying to build something together. Be it a conversation, be it a life, be it a solution to their problem. You are trying to build it, not tear it down. So in your next meeting, try a brainstorm where you'd use yes and as opposed to yes but. And maybe if even in your personal life, maybe thinking about what's for dinner, say, I feel like this. So I feel like sushi. Well, I feel like tacos. Well, we can have both. And yes, and. Now, of course, that is going with the agreeing side of things. But you can definitely build upon things to work together. And if you want to, you can always try it with your barista and see what magic unfolds. Of course, it's entirely up to your confidence at the end of the day. But I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Unboring Your Brand podcast.
So you've heard that the algorithm on many socials favors faces. And yes, that is definitely true, because humans like to connect with faces. We like to see other faces and we like to see what they look like and what they're about. And on social media, and especially the algorithm, is based on our actions and the actions of whatever the social media overlords want us to do. But I digress. So if you are able to get your face onto camera and you're confident about having your face out there, then do it. Practice a couple of times, maybe even film a different couple of videos before you put anything out there. And then once you put that video out there, make sure that you share it with the community, like us here, or you share the video to other groups that you're a part of, maybe just to get some feedback on what you can improve on in a nice way, of course, because people are willing to support other people. And the algorithm favors a lot of things at any different time. I highly recommend that you don't dictate your actions of creating content or videos based entirely on what the algorithm is going to do. Because unfortunately, it's a beast all in itself, and nobody knows what it's doing at any given time.
Thank you for all your comments and your questions and your thoughts and even podcast ideas in today's live stream. You can check out the description below, to the left or to the right, depending on which platform you're on. Thank you again for everyone for sticking by us during the stream and the interesting disconnections that we were having. It's definitely an internet issue / a little bit of my technical issue. The best way to put it is I thank you all for your patience during this beautiful time as we do our best to make sure that the live is accessible, so the Video Confidence Connect is accessible for everyone who wants to watch it, and we're able to use this recordings in our podcasts and future content. So thank you everyone for sticking by us. Make sure that you can watch out the whole live stream or catch up anything that you missed in the description below using the show notes. I do a lengthy write-up of everything that we've discussed and looked at, so you'll have that there on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and all the other platforms that I'm probably going to add these live streams to. So you can check that out at vcc.training/video-confidence-connect, where you can check out all our previous live streams where we've broken down these much bigger thoughts regarding personal branding and video marketing. Smashing your marketing mayhem with killer video strategies. And I wish you all a pleasant week. I look forward to seeing you next week, where I don't intend to get sick again, and I intend to have a little bit more time to do things. But I thank everyone who has been patient with me over these past couple of weeks. Look forward to seeing you at future events or on future live streams. Bye.